Welcome to the Red Couch, Pragati Siddhanti. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Yes, you did.
It's great to meet you here virtually, and I look forward to talking to you. And I think our audience is also excited to hear more about you. So let's get warmed up a little bit by talking about some fun facts. And the challenge is to tell us something that people can't find out by Googling you. So give us a secret.
Okay. That's interesting. I think things that people can never find out because it's always like people are always saying that how do you do so many things at the same time? I have a corporate job, I have my own blog, I teach at the university. So the impression is that, I'm always doing a lot. But if you ever saw me at home, I'm on the couch with Netflix on, and I am a total buff. So there's probably no show that I have not seen. Something that's trending, I'm mostly seeing it. I'm a big fan of reality television. So
Mhm.
there's a particular show, it's Big Brother in the UK and Big Boss in India. And I see it every day, every single day. Like that's my stress buster. So that's something, I mean, I hate. I think I've never admitted this, but I'm totally crazy about reality television.
Well, it's good to know that other people are also addicted to something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to admit that I recently, decided not to work as hard anymore as I used to, and yeah, Netflix has also become one of my best friends in the evening.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this whole hustle culture really sometimes is more toxic than, the other things that people talk about, like, just being lazy or just, taking the time out for yourself. But in a way, it's also something where you just disconnect and you're not always trying to be productive. But
Yeah,
entertainment
and
is a good form.
yeah, and I think when you're productive, by the way, I can really recommend Ali Abdal's latest book on this topic.
Hmm.
It's called A Feel Good Productivity. So he's talking about a lot of things that I also teach my clients, and I never read them in a book. So I'm like, oh wow, other people think like that too. That if you feel good, you can be a lot more productive, and then you don't need to work for 11, 12 hours because you're getting so much done in 9 or in 6 or in 3. So and I think for me, that's also a very big difference between the corporate world and being an entrepreneur, and you're both. So
Yeah.
you're still combining all of the things that you're doing. And maybe you could talk a bit about, where that started. Why did you actually start doing what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the corporate gig has been there for the last 20 years. So that doesn't have much to do with Switzerland. And I think the more interesting story is with my Swiss story, which is something that I started. It's synonymous to my move to Switzerland, right? And that's when it's symbolic that actually that was the first chapter or the first page to my Swiss story. It's when we moved, right? As a family, we moved from India, complete change in everything that in everything that you can imagine possibly. So it was life happening all over again, like you're kind of relearning life, and I really wanted to document this experience.
Uh-huh.
I didn't even care if this would be interesting for anybody, but it was very, very interesting. And it was like, it's like a child's eye opening experience when they see something new. So I saw the first snow of my life when
Uh-huh.
I was when I experienced the Swiss winters. So everything that I was seeing around me, I just started documenting it. And I always make this joke that back home in India, also, I was always writing. I had a four-person audience, which was my mom, my dad, my sister, and my husband. But when I moved to Switzerland and I started this whole chapter, which we now call My Swiss Story, it's really started to resonate with a lot of fellow expats, with the aspirational expats, like you may want to call it, and just even the locals around that. This was a very interesting take on life
Yeah.
from the eyes of an Indian,
Yeah,
probably an Indian expat.
and you are a huge hit. I don't know if you know how I found you, but I actually was looking for something on Google, and that's how I found you. So,
Oh,
your blog comes up for certain keywords. I guess I was doing some search engine optimization. And then I found you there. And I was like, oh, interesting. Why have we not met?
And that's how we met. Amazing. What an amazing story. You hadn't told me this, by the way, till
No,
now. But yeah, I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like from a four-person readership to the readership that I have today, I think that brings the most joy, right? I've
yeah.
done many things after that, like had so many people on the blog, so many inspiring stories. I'm so happy that this became a platform not just for me, but for women across the world, right? We've
Yeah.
covered so many stories. There's so much of travel, tourism, living, women empowerment, so much of stuff that happened. But the thing that brings me most joy is when people say, hey, I read that article of yours and it really resonated with me.
Yeah, and I think, it's the cause also of helping women succeed, not only in the workplace, but also in life. And, being financially independent, doing what they want, and, being able to dare and to risk things in life. And you're
Yes.
a role model for that. So talk a bit more about your journey. How did you get to this point today?
I mean, it's been so many things, right? I mean, right from the choices that you make and sometimes things that happen to you. And I mean, this whole expat move, and I'll talk a little bit more about the last 8 years because the last 8 years have really shaped my career.
Hmm.
Because till I moved to Switzerland, it was a very unidimensional life. Yeah, everybody has hobbies, but how far do you really take those hobbies? I
Hmm.
had a very unidimensional, hey, one part of my life is my career, which meant, a hardcore corporate job. I've been in tech for the longest time. You know that. And then I have my family. There's a husband, there's a daughter, very, very fulfilling life. But when I came to Switzerland, things around, I took it as an opportunity. And this is what I always tell people that sometimes your expat journey, while it's really, really hard, is almost like a blank canvas that life gives you. And you can repaint and you have another chance at doing life the way you want it because you've made some mistakes now and you know what you're good at, you know what you're not good at. And I really took it in the most positive spirit. I don't think I'm as positive as I was 8 years ago. I really think that was a turning point in my life where I could really put myself out there. And that's why my Swiss story was born. And that's why, I think I could become a role model for many women, not just in tech, but entrepreneurship, but just kind of building the community and things like this. And the whole lecturer aspect that I mean, I didn't even know, nor did I ever apply to become a lecturer, right? So life really gives you a lot of opportunities. It's just, are you really listening?
Hmm.
So, yeah, I think the expat move, especially if people listening have just recently moved or are undergoing some kind of life transitions, my advice is that treat it like an opportunity, not like a challenge.
And how did you get those lecturing gigs that you're talking about? What are you actually teaching?
So I teach a very, very geeky subject. The module that I teach is enterprise systems. This
Hmm.
is what I've been doing for the last 20 years. I come from, like I told you, like the tech world, and I started my career with SAP Labs. I still teach some bit of SAP in my lectures, but it's an extremely technical subject. But let me tell you how I got it. It's the most interesting story because I never thought that I had any teaching gene in me. Like never, not even in the wildest dreams. I thought that, I could ever do this. But uh, I did my master's when I moved to Switzerland. So that was another bucket list thing that I did because I always wanted to do a master's, but there was never enough time in life because I was running the corporate rat race.
Mhm.
And, incidentally, when we moved to Switzerland, I moved here as a trailing spouse without a job. And I told my husband, hey, I'm not going to apply for jobs. I'm really going to go back and do my master's because this is something I really want to do. And it was during the masters that I had an amazing supervisor who was how do you say, my thesis supervisor. So
Yeah.
I did a master thesis under her. And then she really told me, I think you should really do a PhD. And I was like, "Oh, these things are so new to me. I've never even written a paper in my life. So I kind of struggled a lot. And then she was like, no, I love what you've done. And this was in the area of cybersecurity. And I said, no, I think I'm going to go back to my corporate life. And a couple of years down the line, this is after the master's is done, and I started working at Accenture, that she calls me up and she says, hey, do you want to teach enterprise systems? Because that's what you've been doing for the last 20 years or whatever. And I was like, are you sure? Like, because I've never saw myself as a teacher. And she was like, no, I have full faith in you. So sometimes it's the relationships that kind of are like, no, 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 I'm sure you're good at this. Try it out. And I've not looked back. I've been doing this is the fifth year I'm teaching, and it's such a gratifying experience.
Mm.
It's got nothing to do with the money associated. It's got nothing to do with, hey, this is gonna add to my PR activity or anything like that. It's just such a gratifying experience to be a
Mhm.
teacher and have a small portion, right? You get to be a small portion in a student's life then.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, in Switzerland, these teaching gigs are really hard to come by.
Yes,
And I hear also now, you know, without a PhD, it's almost impossible
it's impossible.
to get
Yes.
one. And at the same time, you know, sometimes doors just widely open. Yeah. And as you say, you know, sometimes it's just you have a connection, somebody is impressed with your work,
Yes,
and suddenly these doors open automatically. You don't even know that is happening.
absolutely. Like this story is like it's so amazing, right? At the age of I was 35 when I was 35 when I moved here, and I think I was around 37, 38 when she asked me. And I was like, I mean, how amazing it is that the age of 37, I'm realizing that, oh, I have another career choice that I had no idea that I could do this.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why I
And
say,
it's probably also really helpful for all the other things you're doing. So you're also a community builder. Tell us about your communities and you know how you're building them and
yeah,
how
I
a
mean,
younger professional can profit from all these communities that you started.
I have a very strong sense of and when I say this, I really mean it that everybody needs a sense of belonging, and it's extremely important. We are human beings. We like to be in social circles. We like to have people around us, and how much ever we love to sometimes just be on our in our own zones, and we are more productive, and I just want to be left alone and things like that. We crave human interaction. And that was the really simple idea behind this. I was getting really, really, I had started to feel the COVID thing kind of really get to me. I used to work, I think, because of COVID, and we were all working from home at that point in time when the lockdowns were happening. I think I was working 15 to 16 hours a day. I don't know how that switch had happened, but it had just changed lives. And I was like, hey, something has to be done. If I'm feeling so lonely, I'm sure a lot of other people are also. And that's when I was like, okay, we've been a digital, My Swiss Story had been a popular digital platform already at that point in time. And I was like, we need to go like IRL. We need to go in real life now. Or we need to do something because every time I was going at networking events, I was feeling more lonely. So I was like, no, I need to create inclusive spaces where
Uh-huh.
people like me feel that sense of belonging. It's not
Yeah,
about a technology, it's not about a particular topic, but it's about feeling included in a small group. And
absolutely.
that's when
I agree.
that's when this whole
Yeah.
community building aspect started for My Swiss Story. First there were coffee meets, then there were webinars, which you and I are going to be on very soon. And then there were these big events that we do. So I collaborate a lot because My Swiss Story is a completely non-profit platform. It's not like I have a big team or like a huge set of people working for My Swiss Story. So I collaborate a lot with women. So
Mhm.
just like we are collaborating on a webinar together, you've also been featured on the blog. If anyone listening over here feels, hey, I have a great idea and I think we should do it together, reach out to me
Mhm.
because that's how we pay it forward and carry this whole movement forward.
Yeah, you're also pushing female entrepreneurship, obviously, with your Entrepreneur of the
Absolutely.
Month features. Yeah, you're
Ab-
highlighting people. That's amazing. And in terms of communities and inclusive networks, I'm interested in your view on social media. Where do you hang out the most? What's your preferred social media platform right now?
I have to be honest, it used to be Instagram.
Uh-huh.
Um I started with 0 followers 8 years back when I moved here, and today, how many ever that I have. Now I have two pages on Instagram. So there's one which is with my name, and I think I'm 11.2K over there. And it's a lot of hard work, right, to get to this place. I've started hating it right now. Very honestly, I've started to hate Instagram right now because the algorithm is totally messed up. Meta wants you to pay for almost everything. If you don't post like consistently, and consistently means sometimes 3 times a day, come on, it's not kind of going in the direction that I would have loved to for it to. I've started to enjoy LinkedIn, but limited time. I still like the visual medium a lot. So honestly, I would still say Instagram because I really worked hard on that and I really understand the medium very well.
Uh-huh.
But I'm starting to experiment with LinkedIn. And I always say this, that LinkedIn is the Instagram 8 years ago, because there are too many personal posts that I see, which is sometimes very odd on a professional network, but I've started to enjoy LinkedIn a little bit more at the moment.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. And we already mentioned community events. Do you have any advice, first of all, for some more junior people in the audience? A woman maybe who thinks about career in tech. What would you
Oh, yeah.
kind
I
of
mean,
advice would you give her?
tons of advice that hang in there, first of all. I just had a student yesterday. I was telling you just before we started this, I was just telling you that I yesterday was my first class at the university. And a student, of course, a male in this case, a Canadian male, walks up to me and he says, "Hey, how did you get a job?" I think that was the first question he asked me, like, how did you crack the code of getting a job here? And I was like, I must say that that was really, really hard, but you really need to hang in there because sometimes finding a job is almost like a job that you're doing at that point in time. Making applications
It
every
is.
day, networking,
Yeah.
doing everything possible to land the right job is work, is a lot of work, and it's very demotivating when it's not, when the move, when the needle is just not moving. For me, I was very, very persistent. I was also doing a master's at that point in time, so I was kind of adding skill sets to my CV, which really, really helped me. Learning the language goes a long way. I
Mm.
must say I've not done very well over there. But I also say that, hey, I mean, as expats, we are never going to be as good as the native speakers. Let's be honest, we are a certain age. Our children definitely, like my daughter is still my translator. She's amazing. And because she was 5 when we moved here, you can't compare a 5-year-old to a 35-year-old. So probably for the younger people, definitely invest in language, definitely keep the momentum going, just not only making applications, but also kind of enhancing your skill sets. And it will turn. When you least expect it, it will turn and you will get a job. Probably not, the first job is not your dream job. That's one of the things that I always say. It's probably not your dream job, but it's a foot in the door. And
Mhm.
then, things start rolling in from there. So
Yeah.
a little bit of a compromise in the beginning.
Yeah. And building their professional network is key in Switzerland.
It's so key. Yeah.
It's
Most of
all
the
about,
jobs come from networks.
getting
Yeah.
referral, getting somebody to vouch for you, having somebody inside the company say, oh, look, we have a job. Do you want to have
Yep.
it? Rather than applying on LinkedIn with 100 other people.
Other people. Yeah. It's tough, but it's not so. So my first job happened via LinkedIn, by the way. So
Hmm.
the traditional techniques of just, kind of uploading your CV and on a job site, it could also work. So don't stop trying that. But of course, like you said, when you do have a good professional network, it's easier. You can tap into it.
Yeah. Yeah. And also being part of communities, as you mentioned, like inclusive communities can help with not only building that network, but also getting access to the hidden job market.
Yes,
This is something,
totally.
we still need to get better in recruiting in Switzerland. We're still not communicating all the open jobs. A lot of things are still going in the underground process. Yeah.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And I mean, it's always an effort to, become a part of or go to a new networking event or to a huge networking. It's always putting yourself out there, but it's important to make that effort. It does go the long way. Maybe you make just one or two good connections and then you connect later and you stay in touch and you never know how things can shape in the
Yeah.
future. But it's
You
worth
never
it.
know who you're going to meet and
Yes,
what people can help you with. So it's always better to just at least try, even if it's
try.
one-on-one, lunch, evening, apéro, something like that. Even that can get you one step ahead.
Indeed,
Yeah,
indeed. Yeah. So it's a little bit of an effort, but it's worth it. It's really
yeah,
worth it to put
I think
yourself
so.
out there.
So you have something coming up soon. You have a few events coming up. Tell us more about
Yes. Yes. So my Swiss story has a couple of events coming up. The first one is on the 30th of this month, which is next to next week. There's a coffee meet in Basel. That's on the 30th of October. Then there's an event. I wish you could come for that one, but that one's in November, which is so my Swiss story has only two large, big, full-length events that we do. One is in the summertime, and one is going to happen in November. It's on November 16th. It's also in Basel. It's an amazing event, always capped to a maximum of 25 participants. We spend the whole day together. I do it with my friend Anisa, so both of us do it together. So it has a lot of workshops. It has an amazing brunch. It has opportunities to network through the day, and you have women from various walks. There are entrepreneurs, there are coaches, there are people in the corporate, in corporate jobs, creative people. So it's a very good mix of people. The people kind of bring a lot of energy to this event. And there's one with you, which is on the 29th, which is centered around expat well-being. That's a webinar. So two in person and one, webinar with you. I'm really, really very excited.
Yeah, that's only in a month, 6 weeks,
A month.
basically.
Imagine,
Ah,
imagine. Time is flying. I don't know. Didn't we just start 2024 and it's
yeah, it seems like things are really happening fast.
really happening fast?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And how can people sign up for the event? Will you give us a link for the show notes?
Yes,
Or should we contact?
I will provide the links for the show
Awesome.
notes and then yeah, you can just go to the whatever events, kind of sound interesting, then I hope to see you there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will also recommend it to the clients that sometimes, ask me for tips on networking events, etc.
Awesome.
So sometimes I might just send them the link to this talk, but I will also mention it to people who are currently looking for a job, even if they have to travel from Zurich to Basel, which, in
Why
Switzerland, we
not?
do.
For this event, this long event that I was talking about, which is on
Yeah,
the 16th of November, 50% to rather 70-80% of our audience is not coming from Basel, but from around. So there's Zug, there's Zurich, there's Lucerne at times. And then Basel shares the borders with France and Germany. So there are people from across the borders coming in.
awesome.
So
That's great. Oh, that's great. It's going to be great. And I just wish you a bit of relaxation this evening.
thank you so
All your
much.
favorite shows.
Yeah,
It's the weekend, and all the best, Pragati. I look forward to collaborating further with you and
likewise, likewise.
upcoming events. All the best for
Thank,
you.
thank you.
Have
Thank
a
you so
good
much
one.
for having me. Bye.
Pleasure. Bye bye.